The Wild bow out in 4 games, but 26 Minnesotans continue their quest for the Cup. It's episode 34 with the Beauts and Mikko, Koivu, and Devan Dubnyk too, so turn it up.
As always, Bardown Beauties is presented by sodastick.com, where you can snag all the coolest gear for the Minnesota sports fan in your life. Hats, tees, and hoodies in original designs celebrating your favorite Minnesota sports moments. You'll find at sodastick.com. Use code Bardown Beauties at checkout for free shipping. Be a beaut with SodaStick. Hello, everybody. We're back, episode 34 of Bardown Beauties, presented by sodastick.com. Thanks for everybody checking us out, tuning in, especially to our first ever live segment that we had last week. That was a lot of fun. I kind of dig the off-the-cuff stuff, huh, guys?
That's the kind of stuff I thrive in. I love that. Like, ask me about hockey and let's just talk about it for an hour. That was so much fun. It was really cool seeing people ask us questions and being able to like react so immediately to the game, because obviously with podcasts it's sometimes hard to have the freshest content and to be able to have that immediate emotion after certain things happen. So it was really fun being able to do that, and hopefully we'll be able to do more of it in the future whenever the Wild are back in action.
I was going to say, we definitely want to do more live content, but that was going to be my transition. Unfortunately, it will not be after any Minnesota Wild games because they were eliminated in Game 4 in overtime, 11 seconds into overtime, which is probably more hurtful than losing in overtime. Not only did you lose the lead, but 11 seconds, you guys. Like, there wasn't even time to react, and it was boom, done, get out of town, get out of Edmonton, you're out of our country, go back home. I mean, aggressive, not the way that we saw this going. But Game 4 did look much better. It was much more reminiscent to Game 1, so kudos on them. Alexa's first reactions to the Game 4 and to the Wild being done now for the season.
Yeah, to sum it up and to quote my own tweet that I put out after the loss, existence is pain. And that game that game sums that up. I mean, like you said, I thought they played a really well-rounded game. They were getting their opportunities. I thought Al played a great game. I don't think you can put that loss on him at all. The Wild were scoring. They had multiple leads. They just weren't able to hang on, and then they lose 11 seconds into overtime. And I said that to somebody, I don't remember who, but I was like, I wish they would have just lost in regulation. Like, why did you do that to me? Why did you give me hope? And I literally couldn't even take my first breath of overtime before the puck was in the back of the net. It was a really painful way to lose, and especially after the fact that they played a good game, it's even more painful to lose like that when you thought that maybe there was going to be a good outcome. So really disappointing loss to the season. A lot of question marks left here for the Minnesota Wild after that loss, and a lot of the talk has already started since the game has ended.
Absolutely.
As you know.
Yes, I would agree with you. I think that was a better game. They went back to kind of their Game 1 plan. It seemed They played a lot smarter. There wasn't as much reaching. Nico Sturm gets his first NHL goal, another one of those bittersweet goals for a rookie because, yay, I scored my first NHL goal in the playoffs in a big game. But we lose and we're done. And, you know, it's a bummer. The team traveled back and got into Minnesota yesterday afternoon, which would have been a Saturday, as we were recording this on Sunday. And like you said, now it's kind of what's next, right? I mean, just like every time a season concludes for the Wild, they have what we call locker room cleanout day, which is exactly like it sounds, like the end of school. Like all the guys go in, get their stuff, and get hassled by us media. So we actually caught up with a couple of the players following that locker room cleanout today via Zoom, one of those being Mikko Koivu, who easily the biggest question mark, right? He is potentially an unrestricted free agent heading into this next offseason here. And does he want to play? Does he not? It's a big question. Him and Bill Guerin have not had that conversation yet. Makes sense. You're only a couple days from having that wound ripped open that your season is done. So I imagine that conversation is coming down the road. But here's what Mikko's been thinking about his future with the Wild and in the NHL.
Like, I don't think it's just that you don't want to play or I want to play. I think it's more about the whole the whole picture, and I think it was just, if it's just about playing games, I think you want to play and enjoy the game. But I think I think it's just the whole package that you have to think about, and especially now, like I mentioned about the COVID now, and then how it's going to go from here. When are they going to be able to start the season? are we gonna able to play at our rinks with fans? So I think it's all that that I'm trying to think and kind of stay patient with it and then make my decision from there. Like I said, if it's just playing games, but it's also the preparation for the whole season and things like that. So I think that all goes into that.
Again, that was Mikko Koivu speaking to media on Sunday, following the team's locker cleanout. Mikko obviously not in any rush. He's been telling us this over and over again as we keep bugging him to make a decision. What are you going to do? But it's really interesting to me, the fact that he's taking in how weird this season has been, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, for him, it's not necessarily not feeling good. He said he feels 100%. It's not necessarily that he doesn't love the game or he's ready to walk away, but it's kind of, how do you prepare for the unknowns that COVID's presenting for your next season, right? It kind of threw in this whole new kink and this whole new wrench that he really has to take into consideration.
Yeah. And I think I said this on the Lockdown Wild podcast, like probably a few months ago now, but I think that the whole COVID thing really changed the whole way that Mikko was going to look at this, because if you would have given us a regular season, a regular postseason, and all of that, I really think it would have been a much clearer picture for him, no matter how the Wild did, whether they advanced in the playoffs, made the playoffs, whatever it is. I think there would have been an easier answer for him, whatever that answer may be. I really think that with just the uncertainty of everything, and just even with travel, like even if he says, I want to play hockey, but I want to play overseas, or, you know, whatever it may be, what does that look like? Does he have to quarantine from his family to play overseas? Does he have to do this? Does he have to do that? So I think that is really, you know, I don't know if we're going to get an answer from him anytime soon. And he said, you know, that he hasn't decided yet. He's not in a rush to decide. So I think that the whole COVID thing really, you know, that might ultimately change what he was originally thinking at the beginning of the season. This is something this has probably been in his head every time he stepped on the ice this season. I mean, you know, mm-hmm. This is something he's been thinking about because it's something the media has been thinking about. And fans,
I was gonna say, it's because we haven't let him think about anything else. Like, you are old. What are you going to do?
The poor guy just wants to play hockey. And we're like, so are you retiring or no? Like, what's the deal? So, I'm still like, my dad and I talked about it on the way home from the Wild game the other night. He said, so what do you think about Mikko? And I said, I don't know. I kind of feel like he might play another season. I know, Jesse, you're kind of thinking he might go overseas. I don't know. I really, with everything that's going on, I think that it might change his answer.
I mean, I think, and it's interesting because for those that maybe haven't thought of this, the reason he's so concerned kind of about the COVID and the unnecessary factors there is because, as Ryan Suter brought up to media, those guys have not taken a break since the pause. They were go because they didn't know when they were returning. So they mm-hmm. were trying to keep their bodies up and in peak form. And so they haven't been using this time to sit back and relax because there was the kind of, okay, we have to be ready to go whenever the season's ready. It's going to be kind of the same thing. I think, for Mikko, if the NHL was able to say, for sure, this is when we are starting. This is our start date. This is when we're going to go. That changes things, right? That puts that timeline in your head. Okay, this is what I need to do. Yes or no, I'm not ready. Yeah. But like you said, I think that I just get this sense that maybe he's ready to go and play back at home and kind of be there, you know? And again, unfortunately, this decision isn't up to just Mikko either. No, this decision is up to Bill Guerin and the Minnesota Wild organization. I think they will have a very open, honest form of communication, much like Bill did before the trade deadline, asking Mikko if he wanted to be traded and if he wanted to have that opportunity. Because again, Bill has to look out for the future of this team and what that mm-hmm. future of this team looks like. And that might not include number 9, you know, and it has for the past 15 seasons, and it's been wonderful and all the respect in the world to the captain, but it's got a trend in a younger direction. Mikko Koivu is 36 and, mm-hmm. you know, and he realized that. And one credit to him as well in our conversation with media, he did bring up that he's okay with playing on the fourth line. He's okay with getting the less minutes to help the team. So again, mm-hmm. that speaks to the leader that I think a lot of people forget about, right? There is a lot of that unselfishness to Mikko, and that's what makes him a good captain and a respected captain as well. You know, he had kind of said, that's what happens when guys get older. Yeah. You don't get the playing time and you shouldn't. He goes, of course, I have the competitive drive to want more mm-hmm. playing time and to get that, but I understand both sides. And he's like, I think both sides need to understand that as well, between the coaching staff and himself. So I think I'm on the other side. I think I would not be surprised if Mikko says, you know what? Nope, I'm not going to go, and I'm going to go back home and play over there and call it a day in the NHL.
Yeah. What would you do if you're Bill Guerin?
That's tough.
It's a tough question because, again, this is all new territory for everybody, for coaches, GMs, players, fans, media. I mean, there is no right answer to how to go about these things, because like Jesse said, how long do you wait to make a decision? I mean, you kind of are waiting on the NHL. If he wants to play in a different league, you're then waiting on that league. If it requires some kind of traveling or overseas traveling, you're waiting on figuring out what that's going to look like. So I think if you're Bill Guerin, you approach it the same way you approached it at the trade deadline, and you say, what do you want to do? And I think Bill Guerin is the kind of GM, as far as we've seen from him, and just what everyone says about him from being with the Penguins and all of that, he seems like the kind of guy who wants to work with his players. He's not going to hang you out to dry. He's not going to turn his back on you. He's got to do his job as a GM. And if that ultimately means getting rid of a certain player for whatever reason, that's what it might come down to. But I think you really talk through with a guy like Mikko and say, what are you expecting if you want to re-sign here? And Mikko, like Jesse said, has already said, I'll play whatever role you need me to play. As far as this end of this season, he was okay with it. So maybe he has that conversation with Bill and says, I just want to play one more season. I don't care what role you put me in. I don't care where you need me. I just want to play with this team. But yeah, I think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered in the bigger picture before Bill can actually sit down with Mikko and say, what do you want to do next? And
I mean, I'm torn because I think Bill's great. I think he's well respected. It's a business though. And you've got to look at what's best for your team. And again, all due respect to you, Mikko. If I'm Bill, that's what I'm saying. This has nothing to do with you. It's just we have to do something different up the middle. We have to find a new, changing of the guard a little bit, get some new captains in there, get some new voices and faces, because this team as it is, despite what Ryan Suter had said, which in case you guys had all missed it, was we're not that far off of being a real contender. It's like, but you are. I mean, you don't have all the pieces. You look at the teams like Columbus and Toronto. I mean, you're not anywhere near that level, right? And those are guys that you would have to beat in order to win the ultimate prize at the end of the day. But side note, so I would say for Bill, unfortunately, I think you have to part ways. And again, you can do it respectfully and have that conversation, have that open conversation. The only kind of saving grace for Mikko is up the middle, the Wild are hurting. Everybody knows that, right? There are very few centermen, and Mikko is a great centerman. He's great at the faceoff dot, so that might be his saving grace. But again, I think from Bill's perspective, he's looking out for what's going to win us a cup, what's going to give us the best opportunity to succeed. And unfortunately, I think that would be without Mikko.
Well,
see,
I just want
to say it real fast, because he's a fourth line center now. You have plenty of fourth line centers. That's not hard to find. And especially ones that are maybe 5 years younger, 10 years younger.
Right.
So it's like at some point you got to just
or
really
even a more
service.
versatile centerman that could pop over to the wing if you needed to, right? Like I think I mean, it's not a disrespectful thing to Mikko, and that's why it would probably, if it comes out, it's probably going to say Mikko did it on his terms, when maybe that's not necessarily the case. We will get a chance to speak with Bill Guerin and Dean Evson Monday today. Well, this is being released, so be sure to stay tuned to our social media channels if there's any hints on that. Another guy whose future isn't necessarily in limbo, but has been come into question quite a bit, especially in the playoffs, Devan Dubnyk. There was discussion of his contract as he's on his final year, if there's a potential buyout, because Alex Stalock obviously emerging as the starting goaltender for the Minnesota Wild, and knowing that you might have some potential in Kaapo Kähkönen. So what does that mean for Devan Dubnyk? We caught up with Devan, and here's what he had to say about coming into next season, hoping to be the Wild's starting goalie.
Devan, is that your mentality, that you'll have to come back and, I don't know whether you feel, prove yourself as the starter or just fight for that job?
I think so, yeah. It's just, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, I know I've played a lot of games here over the time that I've been here, but I've always tried to keep that approach that, you want to earn each start, and obviously when you're playing a lot, there's going to be a little bit more leeway. But I've always tried to approach it that I want to be starting games and being put in there because I'm the best option to be in there, and I'm giving the guys a chance to win. So obviously this is like I said before, this year played out a little bit different than it has in the past, but I'm gonna come in next year and mentally and be ready to get back to playing and being that best option in the net. And that's obviously not saying anything about any other goalies here, but just fully expecting and being competitive and being ready to get back to being the guy again.
Again, that's Devan Dubnyk talking about how he's approaching the 2021 season, because that's where we're at. We are no longer talking about 2019-20 anymore. We are looking ahead. Alexis, I know you've been team Staylock, not that we've really disagreed.
I'm team Dubnyk too, but
yes, exactly. I mean, do you think that there still remains a real 1 or even 2 spot for Devan on this Wild team?
Is there I thought what you were going to ask me is, do I think he can be a starting goaltender still?
I mean,
and my answer
too.
to that is different than my answer to, is there a spot for him? Because my answer to that is, I don't know. And I don't think so, to be honest. Do I think he still has it in him to play a starting goaltending role? Yes, I think he does. And I don't think he's past his prime like some people think he is. I don't believe that. Has he had stretches of games and parts of seasons and this season where he wasn't at his peak form or going through some stuff that really caused him to not play as well? Yeah. But I don't think he's past his prime, and I think he still has it in him to be a goalie who can perform at a very high level. But the question is, and we keep coming back to it, well, if you get rid of Doobie, is Al a starting goaltender then? And we have that conversation where he is a true backup. And I've thought about this a little bit more, and I agree with it, but to play devil's advocate for a moment, is a goaltender a starting goaltender until they're given a chance to be? So maybe Al just hasn't had enough of a chance to prove that he can be that starting goaltender. And we've seen a lot of him at the right before the pause happened. And obviously he got the starts in all of the games here after the pause. And I thought he played well. He got wins for the Wild before the pause. He played well in the playoffs. I don't really think you could put any of the losses completely on him in this postseason play. So I'm not disappointed with the way he filled that starting goaltender role. Now, can he do that long term? Can he do that for a whole season, night after night? I don't know. We haven't seen it to really have an answer to that. But I thought he played really smart in the playoffs. And then you got a guy like Kakkonen, who we saw him play well when he was up here with the Wild. He played well when he was with Iowa. So we know he has skill as well. And there's so many questions with it. And I think, you look at a guy like Al, think about a guy like Darcy Kemper, who played backup for the Wild and then is a superstar.
Who is still in the playoffs with Arizona doing quite well, you guys.
I'm still mad about it. So sometimes it just is a matter of giving the guy the opportunity, and that sometimes that means not with that team. So I don't know. It's a hard question. So
you want Dubnyk out? Let's cut to the chase there. That's what it sounds like. You're like, nope, he's out of here.
Everyone.
There's not a spot.
Roll 3 goalies. Just roll 3. I don't want anyone
Great
to
guess
leave.
too for us in the zoo, but whatever.
Yeah. To sum it up, I don't think he's past his prime. As far as Al, I think he could be a starting goaltender. I think we just need to see more. And I think Kakkonen has promised. That's if I could put it in a nutshell, that's what I would say about it. So
that's fair. No, I mean, you bring up a really good point that I probably haven't given enough credit, because I've been very firm on my stance that Alex I don't trust as a starting goaltender, because that's all I have. I've known him as a great backup. Yeah. And it's weird to see him in that position. You're probably right. He has never, in San Jose, plus he had injuries and he's never been given that opportunity. With Dubnyk, I should remind, this is far and away from one of the worst, it's not the worst season he's ever had in his career. Before he came to Minnesota, he had a very, very tough year where he was down, down, down and up and down. I think
he's played his best hockey with Minnesota.
He has.
And statistically speaking, he has played his best hockey with Minnesota.
I would feel more comfortable with the idea of a buyout on his contract if we saw more from Capo. I need to see more from him in the NHL, which again, why I was kind of such an advocate to try to even get him a little bit of time in one of the games. I know that's crazy to think, but I need to see how he performs, because again, there are a lot of players down in Iowa specifically that I've seen. I don't think they translate well to the NHL, and that's normal, right? It's a totally different game and it takes a while, but especially in a goalie. Again, I'd have to look and see though who is available for goaltending too, right? That's another thing that Bill Guerin has to look at, because as he starts to navigate this offseason, he does have to figure out, well, is it cheaper just to buy Devan out and go get us a new goaltender? Do we put our money in our stock in Capo? A lot of questions, a lot of things to consider. I do love Devan's approach on it, which again could be lip service, and of course that's what you're going to say, but at the same time I think he believes it. I think Devan of 2 seasons ago would have had a really tough time moving beyond being put in a second spot. I think right now he's grown, he's matured. I
was going to say that comes with age in sports. I mean, just like the Mikko Koivu thing. You know, would Mikko 5 years ago have played on the fourth line? I don't think so. I mean, it comes with age, because at a certain point you mature and you say, I want to be a part of the team. I want to win, you know, whatever's going to get this team to win. I want that to happen. And you know, I'm sure, again, it's going to sting when you're the starting goaltender and then all of a sudden some guy's coming in and playing more games than you and getting more starts than you. That is tough. I mean, you can't be mad at Dubnyk if that is something that's causing him some pain.
No.
But, and even to your point, Jesse, about Bill deciding if he would want to buy him out or not, even if you say Dubnyk's not going to be our starting goaltender, we don't want him on this team anymore, it's not a good fit, you have to look and say, who's available? Is there someone better out there? Because even if you think Dubnyk's not the one, you better have someone in mind that's going to fill his role better than he is. So there's a lot, same with the Mikko thing, a lot that needs to be answered before a decision is made there.
It's going to be a fun, busy off season for Mr. Bill Guerin, and fun for us too, because now who do we watch? We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we will talk about the rest of the NHL. We have 26 Minnesotans that you can be following, plus plenty more that have connections to Minnesota. We mentioned Darcy Kemper. Sure, go for it. Phil Kessel, why not? We'll toss him in the group. We'll take a quick break and be right back.
In addition to our presence in the Soda Stick store, we've got even more Beauts merch available in our Bardown Beauties Teespring collection. Wear a custom-designed 5-hole Bardown tank while feeding your babe in an official Beauts onesie and sipping from your Bardown Beauties coffee mug. We've got it all. Go check it out and support the Beauts.
All right, you get all Beauts today, guys. We're doing a special no guest.
No guest.
Taking a little break, but we have a lot to talk about. We wanted to really crush it on the breakdown in the NHL. A fun weekend of NHL hockey. I don't think anybody's complaining there. I mean, except us Wild fans. Aside from that, really good series. Columbus-Toronto. Didn't think I'd love that series like I did, but that was the only one to go to Game 5 because everybody else also got wiped out on Elimination Friday. Hell of a series. Your boy Torts, Alexis, pulls it out for the win.
Honestly, little mad that the Leafs disrespected Torts in Game 4 the way they did, but Torts came back in Game 5, got the win. It's funny because they played the same night that the Wild played their Game 4, and my dad was texting me updates of the Columbus game. He's like, your boy Torts is up with 3-0 with like 3 minutes to go. He's like, looks like he's going to win. I was like, oh, thank God. And all of a sudden I'm seeing people freaking out on Twitter. I'm like, oh God, what's happening? My dad is like, oh, so it's all tied up now. And I was like, you jinxed it. And then tonight he texted me when the Blue Jackets were up because I was at work, and he's like, all right, Torts is up 2-0. I think they're gonna win tonight. I was like, don't jinx it again because you jinxed it last time. So I was glad to see that the Blue Jackets pulled it out. I do love the Maple Leafs as well because Austin Matthews is one of my favorite hockey players. A lot of talented guys on that team. They're a fun team to watch, but I could never root against Torts, so I wanted the Blue Jackets to win that one, and they finally did.
And again, there's a Foligno on that team too, so you can have like a Nick Foligno fan club too,
the second
right?
coolest Foligno brother, as I like to say.
Exactly. No, I think first of all, it's baffling to me when you look at the Leafs roster of Mitch Marner and Nylander and Austin Matthews and John Tavares, and it's like, how do you not get past the first round? I mean, how are you cursed that way? It's mind-boggling to see the struggles, but it also makes you feel a little bit better as like,
I was just going to say that. I was like, could be worse. At least we don't have Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner on our roster in our losing. Right?
In Columbus, I remember when they came to Minnesota to play Minnesota, like 11 players were on like they're injured because I had to like write out all the injuries. And,
I remember
they were just down and out. So to see them move on, not to mention we get a rematch of Columbus and Tampa, which is going to be epic.
I hope Torts sweeps them.
Yeah, there was a nice sweep last year. Tampa being the number 1 overall last season, and Columbus comes out of nowhere and it's like, nope, sorry, yoink.
Yeah.
So that should be a really good series. Then you also have Chicago and Vegas, and you also have St. Louis and Vancouver. So those two will be playing. They still have the 9:30 start time for that series. So you wouldn't have changed, Wild fans. You would have been stuck in that. You would have had to face St. Louis again, which has never really boded well for Minnesota. And then, I forget the rest of the matchups because I don't really care about the East as much.
Yeah.
So if you guys, whatever you think there. How about on the East side and the West side, the 12s over the 5s, you guys. So both Edmonton.
Chaos.
And Montreal.
Yeah.
Or Montreal wins, and Chicago wins. So it's I like that. I dig that. Again, that Montreal-Pittsburgh series, to me, didn't think I'd like it. And I was
that was one of the best ones.
into it.
Yeah. I have two feelings on this. One, anger, and two, excitement. My anger stems from the fact that I really don't like Chicago, and I couldn't give a crap about the Canadians, but everyone was like, oh, they don't deserve to be in the playoffs. I said they don't deserve to be in the playoffs, and then they both win their series. So now we look stupid, right? So my anger comes from there, but excitement because I love the parity in the NHL. It's like, give me that. Like, I want everyone upsetting everybody. Chaos is the motto. #chaos. I should put that on a t-shirt. Should that be new merch? #chaos. I just love like the most chaotic energy that I can get out of sports. And so it is fun because I think that's one of the things that makes the NHL so exciting, because I think you get that more in the NHL than a lot of other sports. And especially in the way they set up this postseason due to COVID and all of that, it allowed for that kind of parity, and we got it. I mean, we got some of the best series from those 12 seed teams, and they end up moving on. So it's pretty cool, and I'm sure their fans are stoked, because can you imagine being a Habs and Blackhawks fan going into this thinking, great, we are the 12 seed, everyone doesn't want us to win, and then you come out and win your series? I mean, it's crazy.
It's crazy. Well, I got to give a credit to our buddy Pat Micheletti, who, when he was a guest on a few episodes back before all of this started, when we were still like, is this really happening? Had said the Montreal Canadiens, you better not sleep on them. They're going to come in hard. Carey Price,
and specifically Carey Price.
Former Carey Price. Like, he doesn't look like he's aged. I'd take him as a goalie if he wants to come play for Minnesota. Or King Hank, even from the Rangers.
Yeah.
Send him our way too.
Honestly.
No. And then, so speaking of, the only downside to a team like Edmonton and Pittsburgh being out, and now Toronto, those three teams have a higher probability of getting the first overall pick, which will be tonight. That first overall pick will be announced tonight. Our good friend Jamie Hirsch doing the announcement on NHL Network. The Wild with a 12.5% chance.
No, listen, it's not that high. That's fake news. Honestly, if the Wild win the draft lottery, I will shit myself. They are not going to get the top pick. I swear. The Wild.
Wow.
Somebody tweeted that. They're like, so here's the teams who could win the draft lottery. And I tweeted, I was like, I'll tell you who it's not going to be. It's not going to be us. Like, I guarantee it.
You said you wanted chaos. Gary Bettman is pulling this ball live in front of everybody, and like it's going to be
the Chicago Blackhawks, even though they moved on to the next round.
Just the luck. No, and I know people have been asking too about what does that mean for the Wild's conditional pick that they got from Pittsburgh and the Jason Zucker trade that happened back in February. Pittsburgh technically gets to decide what they want to do with it. If they want, odds are they will hold on to it and give it to the Wild next year.
Won, the Wild would have gotten it.
Yes, exactly. So that's boo-hoo for the Wild again. But you never know. Keep the faith, maybe, right?
Well, #faith. Paul Allen.
We'll see. But they have a shot of getting in the top 9, so that's good.
Jesse, your optimism is so painful. I just don't do this to us, okay? It's not worth it.
I'm like forcing it too. Can you feel me like forcing
I can tell.
it?
Jesse's like, please, for the love of God, give us the top pick.
Yeah. But I'm excited to see what happens here. Again, we mentioned 26 Minnesotans moving on. For those of you that are kind of like, I don't know who to cheer for. I'm liking the Flyers. The Flyers also have 4 Minnesotans.
Oh, come on.
Good. I usually don't, and I feel gross saying that because I hate
yourself with Philly fans.
I hate orange. I hate orange and black. I don't like it, but I like Justin Braun, and I like Matt Niskanen, and I like Tyler Pitlick, and I like Chuck Fletcher, and I kind of like Gritty.
No, I absolutely not. I'm vetoing this. We're not getting on the Philly bandwagon. I can't do it, Jesse.
No, I would say truthfully, out of all the remaining teams, if I were to choose one from the East and one from the West, just ones that I really like, I do like Arizona a lot.
After I told you about my Darcy Kemper trauma, why are you doing this to me?
I like Derek Stepan and Alex Goligoski. And then I would say I really like Carolina too. Dude, I love Carolina playoff hockey, and that's got Jake Gardner and Brady Shea for you Minnesota fans. But yeah, I love Carolina Hurricane hockey. Like, damn, they're fun to watch.
Yeah, I think in the East, I gotta go with Torts because, like, obviously, #get Torts the cup. And then in the West, I don't know. I kind of want everybody to lose. Is that okay?
Yeah. Do you know Columbus is the only team without a Minnesotan on it? Just fun fact. So
Torts is an adopted
the only team left that doesn't have one Minnesotan.
Dude, I cannot. No, Torts has my full heart, all my attention. I'm going with Columbus, and I don't care about the West because the Wild aren't in it anymore. So I just want Torts to do well.
Fred, you got a stake in this game?
Oh, and then, well, other than St. Louis,
Yeah,
since I'm from there, but no, I don't have any other stakes.
I mean, they already won. Can we be done? Cup. Yeah.
Hey, I'd be down for that. I mean, St. Louis, they need as much money as they can get. Oh, wait, there's no fans. Oh, there's no money tied to this. Oh, well.
Did you see what the NHL? So the NHL's been throwing some hard dad jokes out there throughout all of these games in case you haven't been tuning in. So, like, there's one where it's like, please exit safely from your coach. And they put it up on the big screen at the game or whatever. Today's during, I forget who it was, Dallas and St. Louis, I think. They had thank you to our fans, and they literally had fans like the appliances sitting in the seats at the arena. And they like panned over to them, and like they're just dad joking. So I mean, classic NHL. Like I could never see the NBA or NFL doing that. Like it's so that NHL.
Well, they
so
also
cheeky.
posted on the jumbotron for one game that the wave was forbidden or something like that.
Yeah.
That was funny. Also, for anyone who knows who Zach Halverson is, I work with him at the Wild. He put out a tweet on Friday night for Game 4, and he was like, "Tonight's attendance is 0." And Brandon Molesky responded, he's like, "You are the greatest hockey fans in the world." I was laughing so hard. It was so funny.
Oh God, it's amazing. Hockey's
I mean,
back,
at least we
so
can laugh our way through this, right?
Yes.
At least there's jokes that can come out of this. So
I know, exactly. We did have a couple questions from a couple of our listeners. So Fred, would you like to ask us our fan questions that we can maybe?
Is it my turn?
Yeah, you get to talk.
Oh,
Fred.
wow. I always have to like raise my hand, just be like, please call on me, teacher. Okay, first question comes from someone named Brian Clark on Twitter. Do the Minnesota Wild have an issue and need between the pipes? 2 older goalies, one showing inconsistency. Should Guerin try to grab a top goalie in the draft?
I mean, we kind of touched on this before,
but the
right?
draft thing, I did see this tweet, and the draft thing was an interesting question because I don't know how I feel about that. What do you think, Jesse?
I don't know how strong the goalie class is. Goalie classes in general don't tend to be strong. I think last year it was a much stronger class, and maybe even the year before. And again, it's hard because I just with USA Hockey, I only paid attention to the American goaltenders a lot.
The prospect pool is in the lowest corner of my mind.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Like I don't know that it's a strong class. I suppose they have 7 picks, I believe, in this year's draft. So if there's somebody that sounds decent and there's a good scouting report down in a later, but I don't think so because I think you still have Matt Robson too.
I was going to say,
I'm not developing goalie as well. So I mean, I don't think he's in a rush to get a goaltender in the draft this year. I think there are plenty of other holes that need to be filled. Before that, because while it is a big question mark, it's not the worst. Again, they need to get some centermen up the middle. They need to build around Kaprizov, and they need to build around Fiala now. And your defense alone is already strong too, so your goaltending can be a little weeble wobbly, I think. That's what I would say.
Well, and Guerin didn't trade away picks, so it's like we actually have picks.
Right. Yeah. For the first time ever. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if they pick a goalie, I'm not gonna like break my remote over my knee, but like I'm also not gonna be super thrilled. Like I don't know.
Have you done that?
Is that a thing?
Is that a thing for you?
I declined to comment. Someday on one podcast episode, we can go through all of my Minnesota Wild rampages about all the things I've broken and thrown over time.
Stay tuned for Dear Diary in season 3.
But no, I like Jesse said, I think there's other more important holes to fill, and I think it's not at the top of the list for Bill Guerin as far as drafting goes. And I think the Wild, it's not like they're desperately hurting for young goalie talent. So we'll just kind of have to see, what's available and what that draft class looks like. But I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna take it to the bank that the Wild need to draft a goalie in the draft this year.
Next question. This comes from Milan. If the Wild do get the first overall pick, should they keep it or trade down and gain more assets while also drafting a desperately needed center like Quentin Byfield? I'm really curious to know the Beauts' thoughts.
I would love to see Twitter if the Wild get the first pick and then Guerin trades down. I'm kind of #chaos. Give it to me. Trade down. Trade the first pick. I really don't think Guerin would do that. With all the picks that he has, I don't think he has a need to. I mean, I think if the Wild get the first pick, they're gonna take it to the bank. Twitter would be pretty funny if Guerin did do that. So, but also the Wild aren't going to get the first pick. So like question.
I'm literally like laughing out loud in my head thinking of just so like people would riot outside of Guerin's house. Like they would find him and like, oh my God, that would be hilarious. But interestingly enough, our friend Dave Schwartz at Care 11, who we're going to get on the podcast eventually, brought the same exact thing up tonight on Twitter as well and said, hey, you know, from what I understand, and again, as we have exclusively said, we're not big prospect people.
Yeah.
I don't know a whole lot about a lot of prospects, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I do. Like, yep, that sounds great. From the little that I've heard, I hear Quentin is a very, very good centerman and very strong centerman. But yeah,
the Wild need. But
yeah, exactly. But no, you keep your number one pick. You keep Lafreniere, and he will. Because I think every report, and again, it's hard to say that like, oh, he's going to turn into what he's supposed to, right? You can never guarantee that, but from all accounts, it sounds like he is one that will do it. So,
and we have the same name, so might as well keep it in the family and bring him on board, right? I mean, that's how I feel about it. So
you need another Alex. That'd be the third Alex on the team, I think.
Yeah,
more including you. So I love the question. I think it's fun to think about, but you got to keep that first pick, and that's it. That's all I got.
Just thinking about Twitter. Oh my God, it would be so funny.
There'd be a lot of crying and a lot of like,
because Minnesota sports fans have the best sense of humor. Minnesota sports fans have such good self-awareness that we can make a joke out of anything. I just know there would be some fire tweets if Bill Guerin traded down on the first pick. Like
people would want Paul Fenton back. Like they would be like, bring that Paul, please. Like it got worse.
Hashtag bring back Paul would be trending on Twitter in 0.2 seconds if Bill Guerin traded down.
Oh my God. I love it. No, yeah, but thank you again for the questions. I think that's actually all we got.
There's one more.
Send them in. There's one more.
Fab Five hockey fans. One for you, Jesse. They want to know, will you be calling in to the TSN 1040 show up in Vancouver to talk the Canucks Blues series?
I mean, they do love me up there. I don't know why. They so many people must have said no. Like, no, I'm not doing that because they keep calling me back. I'm like, really? And I think I was wrong on like majority of my takes. Like, I think I said, yeah, Ryan Suter will play. No, he didn't play at all. Like, fuck, which was fine. I was correct in knowing that Carson Soucy was going to get bumped up, so at least I was accurate in my assessment there. But I would love to. TSN 1040, give me a call anytime. I don't know what insight I could give you at all, except I would rather you guys win than St. Louis. Sorry, Fred, but I would. I'd like to see some new blood in there. I think I like Vancouver. I don't hate
Vancouver.
Gonna
break your knees.
Yeah.
You do know that if you root for Vancouver, you were subsequently rooting for Anton Roussel, and I also can't allow that to happen.
Point.
I can't.
But then you
I'm
also
sorry.
can look at it and say the Wild won to the Stanley Cup champion.
No,
That's
I hate
the most
that
stupid
argument.
thing.
I hate
that
that argument.
Awful. Don't ever say that again.
No, I hate when people are
Stanley
like,
Cup comes here.
You lost to the champions. I'm like, no, I don't want the people who beat us to go on and win. I want them to lose. I want them to also lose. So
feel my pain.
Just go back to liking the Flyers and Gritty. Just stop.
All right, I can do that. Is that all for our questions now?
Yes, that's it. Yes.
What? Well, thank you guys.
No, there was one more question. Someone literally responded to my tweet and said, because I quote, no, this is funny. I quote tweeted it and I said, like, ask us questions, and someone just responded, yeah, my question is, what the fuck? And I was like, okay, yeah, honestly, same.
I mean, that's fair.
Oh,
we don't know. We have no answer for that.
I'm as confused as you are.
I'm not though, because it's what was going to happen.
Oh, Jesse.
Let's just call it.
Let's end it on a positive note. What kind of good news can we bring? How about these Soda Stick t-shirts?
For those of you that cannot see on our YouTube, another shout out to our presenting sponsor, sodastick.com. We got a part of those Minnesota bubble hockey shirts. We're part of the club, as they like to say. Unfortunately, the bubble was short-lived for us in our shirts. It burst in one day.
Honestly, the puns that came along with that, I'm like, God, this just is, it hurts. It hurts more every day. Why?
It's just terrible. But they are 6 shirts. I think they sold out pretty quickly. I'm sure they'll do another re-release because they're cool either way. Like it's very symbolic of how like this season, maybe who knows if this is what happens forever, right? Like what do they do? Who knows? So yeah, that's a positive note. Bubble
Bardown Beauties at checkout for free shipping.
On all purchases. We're going to take another quick break before we come back with Dear Diary with Alexis. Stay tuned.
Hey everybody, this is producer Fred. First off, thank you very much to everybody that went out and rated Bardown Beauties on all of your podcast platforms. We really, really appreciate it. Now, let's tell everybody you know. Let's tell your friends, let's tell your mom, let's tell your grandma, let's tell your hockey coach. Let's grow Bardown Beauties podcast.
And we're back. And to conclude, as we do every episode, Alexis is going to dive deep into her youth hockey journal to remind us of maybe hopefully a better time in Wild history, if you found a joyful one and not an angry one. Who knows? Here's Dear Diary with Alexis.
It's not a joyful one. It's Wild versus Predators, October 28th, 2009. I know why we're so unlucky. We're too good for everyone else, so they decided to give us the bad luck. They're just really jealous of our mad skills.
And that's Dear Diary with Alexis. Beautiful as always. Thank you guys again for tuning in to another week of Bardown Beauties. We'll be back next week with some great guests. Enjoy the hockey. Still hockey to be played. Don't have to sit and be sad and watch other things. Go watch hockey. Rate, subscribe, share, give us some love, and thanks again. Have a good one. Near.